Hello everyone, this is Lexicon Architect, and for today's deck tech, we're going to be looking at Olivia Outlaw, a 4-mana Mardu commander with flying and lifelink, which benefits us when we deal combat damage with a outlaw. So an outlaw is an assassin, a mercenary, a pirate, rogue, or warlocks. They're considered outlaws. So it's going to generate us a token, and then for 3 mana, we can sacrifice 2 treasures to put 2/1/1 counters on each creature we control, and we can only activate this as a sorcery. So, like I said, the general strategy of this deck is straightforward. Deal combat damage, create treasures, and then pump our creatures. So let's get into the mana value 1. We have Impulsive Pilferer, that when it dies, it creates a treasure, and then for Encore 4, you exile it, and then you create a copy token of this that attacks each opponent if able, and then they gain haste, and then you sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. So no matter what, you're going to be generating possibly 4 mana with this, considering if 3 of our opponents are still in the game. At mana value 2, we're going to look at Dothi Voidwalker. It has Shadow, and it says if a card will be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead with a void counter on it. And then you can sacrifice this creature to choose an exile card an opponent owns with a void counter on it, and you may play it this turn without paying its mana cost. Next, we're going to be looking at Latho Corrupt Sheriff. Whenever a player casts their second spell each turn, you lose a life and create a treasure token. So this works really well with our commander, allowing us to create multiple treasures, depending on if we or our opponents cast 2 spells during their turn. Then we have cards like Sign in Blood to help us draw cards. Then we have Spiteful Bantry to create us treasures and wipe the board if we need to. And then lastly, one of our late game win cons is Torment of Hailfire, 2 black X, and you repeat the following process X time. Each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. At mana value 3, we have Academy Manufacturer, so we're going to be generating treasures, but we'll also be generating clue and food tokens as well. Then we have Black Market Connections, a solid enchantment that at the beginning of our pre-combat main phase, you can choose 1 or more. We can create a treasure and lose a life, draw a card and lose 2 life, and then lose 3 life to create a 3/2 colorless shapeshifter token with Changeling. So this helps out with our commander because we're going to be generating outlaws with this. Then we have Flawless Maneuver to protect our board state from board wipes. And this card becomes free if we do control our commander. Then we're going to look at Mirror Entity. We can pay X, and then creatures you control become XX and gain all creature types until the end of the turn. So if we have a ton of mana, we can sink it into this, make our creatures huge, and then attack with them. Then we have Monologue Tax. Very solid card for us that's going to generate us tokens whenever opponent casts their second spell each turn. Then we have Professional Facebreaker with Menace that says whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure. And then we do have the option of sacrificing a treasure to exile the top card of our library, and we may play that card this turn. Then we have another protection spell in Teferi's Protection that is going to allow us to phase out all permanents we control, and our life total cannot change, and we gain protection from everything. And then lastly, we're going to look at Vihan, Goldwaker, which works incredibly in this deck because it allows our outlaws to have vigilance and haste. And then at the beginning of combat on our turn, we may have the treasures you control become 3/3 construct assassin artifact creatures in addition to their other types until the end of the turn. So let's say we have 10 treasures at the beginning of combat on our turn. They can become 3/3s, and we can swing in for 30 damage. Then at mana value 4, we have Big Sword to allow us to draw and generate treasures, Clever Concealment to protect our board state, Deadly Rollick to deal with a problematic creature, Mirkwood Bats allows us to drain our opponents whenever we create a token, Prosper allows us to, at the beginning of our end step, exile the next top card of our library, and then until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. And then whenever you play a card from exile, you create a treasure token. And then lastly, we're going to look at Queen Marchesa. It's an assassin with Death Touch and Haste. And then when it ETBs, you become the Monarch. And then at the beginning of our upkeep, if an opponent is the Monarch besides us, you put a 1/1 black creature token with Death Touch and Haste onto the battlefield. Then at mana value 5, we're going to be looking at Revel in Riches as one of our backup win cons that basically says whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, create a colorless treasure artifact creature token. Not creature token, sorry. Treasure artifact token with sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more treasures, you just win the game. As far as utility lands, we have Bojuka Bog to eat alive a graveyard, Iganjo to channel for 3 or less, depending on how many legendary creatures we control. It deals 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. Then we have Minas Tirith to help us draw cards. Mines of Moria to create treasures by exiling cards from our graveyard. Then we have Path of Ancestry that allows us to scry if it shares a creature type with our commander. Then we have, what else we got in here? Got Takanuma to channel to bring back a creature or planeswalker card from our graveyard to our hand. And I believe, lastly, Vault of the Archangel. For 4 mana, creatures you control gain Death Touch and Lifelink until the end of the turn. So this deck is expensive. It's coming around $615, but if you can swing it, I think you'll like this deck. Have a good day and take care.